Hello, Froggy here, and today we'll be getting as far in King's Fall as we can, without doing any encounters. We'll be pulling out pretty much every trick in the book here, so I hope you're ready for some glitching. Sadly, we can't do it from the very beginning, at least not yet. I'll go ahead and show you why that is now. The raid is full of teleports, and teleports can be quite tricky. So while we're here, we might as well grab the flag and perhaps our trusty fighting lion, just in case. There's a handy hole right behind where you spawn in. If you look at the ceiling, you'll see a little bit of the skybox peering back at you. We can stasis climb up there pretty easily. I've linked a video in the description that has my full stasis build if you're curious. Once you reach the top, you'll want to jump over the roof of the area because getting fully out can be a little bit annoying. To jump over this ridge, which is right around the height ceiling. Let's go ahead and take a look around here while we have the time. I imagine these areas had some relevance in D1, but in D2 they're unused. Somewhere around here you can see the teleport destination in the distance. See kind of some artifacts in the distance here. Not sure what they're about, but that sort of thing is pretty common out of map. Oh, we've got some sort of room here, and oh, the door opens. That's kind of neat. Oh wait, I've been bamboozled. Well, starting over, let's see if we can cut down on some of that stasis climbing. It is a somewhat slow process, so any height you can start off with is quite welcome. Just going to sword fly over there from the top of that archway. And that should save us quite a few throws. But you know how that goes. Anyways, we're back up at the top. And now to spot that teleport destination. I think it was pretty close to where we were before. At least initially. Could have sworn you could see it from over here. Oh, hey, a shift in the lighting. Oh, there you go. Way past the box barrier, so unless we find a tunnel or a funnel, we're going to have to start from after the entrance encounter. But that's not really an encounter, is it? So I think we can still count it. This section will probably be a bit familiar to those of you that watched my previous video. We need to get across the ship jumping puzzle. If you would like to use the auto-res from this later, you should have one person stay back. The checkpoints for activating the auto-res are the ship, everyone in the zone being at the lift, and getting to the top. The staircase trigger I'm just passing is actually optional. Be sure to drop your height here or you'll hit a kill barrier. If you want to save the auto-res at the top of the lift for an IRB, or you're sticking with a Titan, you'll need to climb up the elevator shaft. Warlocks and hunters, on the other hand, have different tricks that they can use. But that's getting a little ahead of ourselves. We've still got an elevator to climb. Once again, it's always nice to get some height before you start your stasis climb. And it's also pretty handy to have a climbing buddy. Climbing up this tube is a little weird. You'll notice as you get higher up that you are pushed further and further away from the wall. While you can technically stasis climb high enough to hit the teleporter, which is luckily active, you'll probably want to switch to Z climbing at some point to avoid accidentally falling off. I had that happen quite a few times. It is a very precarious stasis climb and you can only stand on the last centimeter of the crystal. After a little bit of stasis climbing like this, you will hit the teleporter after you jump. So I would keep an eye out for that to save yourself some time. And there we go. If you're quick, you can throw a nade and save yourself some stasis climbing, because it is a long climb back up to the top. Luckily, you can save a whole lot more time by watching someone else do it. Thanks to the magic of editing, we can finish this climb in seconds. If you're intending to take advantage of the auto-res, the triggers for that can be hit in any order. And now that we've reached the top, we have hit the top of elevator trigger. That means as soon as the elevator is activated, it will trigger the auto-res, so keep that in mind. But we still got some obstacles before we can make use of that. The door in Basilica to Totems is closed, so we're going to need to use some more stasis trickery. I died to the load there to put myself at the default spawn. If the default spawn is unavailable, perhaps because someone has covered it with stasis crystals, I'll spawn at the fallback point, which here is conveniently located right next to the totems flag. So I'm just going to cover this area up, or more, Henry is, and I'm just going to throw a single grenade. You can in fact solo this, which is handy. Just block off this square in front of the door, and I'm through. Now that we've broken into the totems encounter, we need to break back out again. There's a couple of ways to do that, but my favorite is Titan slithering. Thanks to Gerbsnail for showing that works in this area. The damage fields are still up, but luckily with the way that the spawn system currently works, we'll respawn about where we died, which makes this pretty convenient. I'm just going to climb up, and eventually we'll get out of the damage field when we get to the top of those structures. Stasis climbing with Salvation Script is much faster, so we should be able to make it up there without much trouble. I would recommend getting a close respawn to the wall to make sure that you have enough time. You can stand on the little divot in the corners of that structure. Most other places you'll just slide right off though. Luckily for us, this slither is rather easy to perform. For those of you that don't know, a slither is when you use Code of the Missile against a slanted surface next to a push barrier. Code of the Missile will basically ignore that the barrier even exists at all. It's the only way to get past really long pushbacks. That is, without a teleport effect. And you can see I can stand on this corner area. I prefer to slither out where you can see that light coming through, although there are many spots that'll work. Just gotta get into this corner here. I also like this spot because it is easy to stand. Just gonna get a little bit of light once my barricade is up, and I have worked up the nerve to use my super, which would take 10 minutes to get back. If it weren't for that flag, I would probably not have even bothered. And here we go. Just aim right at the top, and it should be pretty easy to get through. Once out, you can just walk to the corner here and you'll be outside of the damage field. I mentioned before that you may want to be on a Warlock or Hunter for this part, and they can't exactly Titan Slither now, can they? But luckily there is a res breach. You'll want to land right about here on the floor, and then walk into the crouch spot over here. Thanks to Espey for sharing this on Twitter, and for Corolla for identifying that spot to make it easier. You can also just slide in from a jump, if you're having troubles with that. For our next trick, we'll be getting down there. The first time we did that via the auto-res, but once down there we found that the pushback towards the lift is actually rather small, and we figured we could probably get a Hunter with Silence and Squall past it. We were a bit conservative and we used a Eager Edge heavy swing to get some horizontal momentum to make sure it would work. This worked first try. In fact, it was so easy that we figured that it was probably not necessary to have a second person. So I went back to see if I could get the job done on Blade Barrage. I had strafe jump on for better side-to-side jumping. I would recommend using something to mark where the push barrier is. Here I just used a Shot of Salvation script, and just a practice jump to see what it's like. And I also made this one on my first try. Perhaps the easiest Blade Barrage of my life. It was so easy that Corolla decided to go back and see if Blink would work. And sure enough, it does. Any Titan holdouts in the group will have to join via res. Luckily, the area below is close enough that you can just die on top and your ghost will appear down below. At that point, you either trigger the auto-res, or you have your buddies that are already down there res you. And we are now free to enter Golgoroth Cellar. You can hit the load without dying, but might as well have a little bit of IRB style insurance. If you die up here, you will be visible in both zones. And that way, if you die to the load, one of your buddies in either zone can res you. It makes it absolutely risk-free. As you can see, I died there, but my buddies can go back and get my res. Now we simply have to solve the Labyrinth of Golgoroth Cellar. But it turns out it's much easier to solve a labyrinth when you're on top of it. The hardest part about this is that it is dark. In case you're wondering, you can in fact snag the bonus chest while you're here. You can grab it from underneath the map. Definitely doable on Titan and Warlock. Not so sure about Hunter. But anyways, we can just take the straight path here. And that'll take us all the way to Golgoroth. If you're high in the air, you can see a lot better. Oh hey, chess pieces on the left. Now that we're here, you have to go around the side. Sadly, you don't get the view from up top. There goes Corolla flying off. Maybe one day I will pick up skating. But generally I don't need to go fast, so I haven't bothered. So it doesn't actually matter whether you survived this load or not. Once you're in Transept, you're pretty much home free. But since I survived, I might as well make the trek on the outside. Just gotta climb on top of this hallway here. Fortunately, I don't think this lets you get into the basketball court area. It's on the other side. I think you go there for the catalyst as well. Maybe I'll try glitching into there at some point. The pistons here can still kill you, so pay some amount of attention to them. I do like seeing it from this side, though. Very interesting looking. Anyways, if you did die to the load, or joined after getting ammo or something, it is very easy to get out of the map from this side. And, of course, you could stop by the bonus chest on the right. You can get out of the map right here. Just jump up on the light fixture, and then jump up here and crouch. It'll let you right on through. And we are almost to the end. The door, of course, would be closed, but we can climb up the outside. A single stasis nade will do. You can see the underside of this disc, but not the top, but it is still solid. You don't need to keep climbing, though. I just saw these rocks and figured I'd get to the top anyways. The doorway is that black thing just to the right. But once again I saw chess pieces and was easily distracted. We're just gonna do the full circuit here. And we're right back to the beginning again. Let's see if I can manage to avoid the alluring chest pieces this time. So you can see the entrance is pretty low down, and once you get in, it's no longer disturbingly red, just disturbingly orange. We can actually race the door spawn in if we want. I just want to drop down a little bit here, and as soon as you hit the load, climb back up as fast as you can. As you can see by how slow I am going here, it is pretty flexible, but not quite that flexible with the timing. But luckily, once again, we can use the trusty fallback points to get inside. Just cover this area with stasis, die and respawn before the stasis goes away. And we've made it to Oryx. Or, I guess where he would be. We seem to have gotten here before him. But we might as well enjoy our view of the arena without any of those pesky enemies in the way. If only we could bring sparrows. I haven't quite accomplished everything I want to in this room. During the Oryx encounter, sometimes he drags you into the Thunderdome. And to find that, we're going to need to get out of map in Oryx's Arena there. So once again, we're going to head out of map here. And instead of hitting the load on the inside and racing the door, we're going to do a hub IRB. The hub here is a bit tricky. You kind of jump in and out of it, but if you line yourself up with this corner here while looking down, you should have your ghost show up in both Transept and Threshold. Now all we have to do is die to the Threshold load. And once again we just climb up the side here and go into the door. Well, it'd be a lot easier to see where to mantle if the ground were visible. But we can't have everything. So now, instead of hitting the load and surviving, we want to not do that. Easiest way here is to jump onto the top of this rock, walk left, and then walk left again after the game teleports us, trying to keep us alive. So now, Bach needs to get my res. But in order to do that, I have to see him, and he has to see me. So you have to guide your buddy into the correct location. And now we're out of map and Threshold. I'm just going to show you a little bit of what this area is like. I haven't actually managed to get down to the Thunderdome, but I will be showing you a place that you can kind of see it from. I say kind of because you pretty much need to be at max brightness to have any hope of spotting it. You may also notice that there are currently enemies on my radar. That's because I went back and did this from a post-Golgoroth CP, because I didn't want to do that entire stasis climb again to get this footage. But if you do it outside of an encounter, it is much easier to avoid accidentally starting it. It's very easy to get yourself stuck in death loops here, so I would definitely recommend having a buddy who can block your spawn if needed to get you out of a pickle. I would recommend coming up on this side for a viewing of the bubble. Just go to the frontmost area and then look straight down. And if your brightness is high enough, you just might spot the Thunderdome. Here's some footage courtesy of Henry.
I don't know, my field of, or my graphics might be too... No.
Oh, it is.
It's solid. That's the Thunderdome.
That's definitely Thunderdome.
He found it.
I'm confident we'll be able to find a way there eventually, especially since we still have that auto-res in our back pocket. Plus, who knows? Maybe there's a funnel. Anyways, good luck, and perhaps you'll beat me there.